Hi everyone, it's Hugo here. Just wanted to kind of get a quick, dirty kind of introduction to Gutenberg, WordPress Gutenbergs, just so I can get it out to my friends and anybody else that wants to hear about it. But primarily, I am now building websites using Gutenberg, primarily because it streamlines a lot of things for me. I don't need to develop a lot of stuff. I don't need to recreate a lot of stuff, and I can build a structure primarily just using Gutenberg. So I'll go into that stuff, but I think there are a few points for anyone. For instance, for designers, I would say it's easy to build a structure. You don't have to build any more HTML. You don't have to build templates, which is great. It can be built all within the block editor. For a developer, let's say, they can use the core base grid system that comes with Gutenberg. So you don't have to insert any new outside grids. Like, for instance, for me, it would be Bootstrap. There was no more use of Bootstrap at all. It makes the CSS lighter. It makes it easier to work with. So I think that's a quick benefit. I'll try to show some of that stuff too. As an editor, as a marketer, it's easier for them to build out their own pages once everything is already set up for them. The styling is all there for any piece that they want to put together. Some of the blocks already created there are really well. Obviously, you can extend some of those with other options, whether it's custom or you using a different plugin that you can extend some of those additional blocks. But overall, I think this is a solid tool to use. So let me go quickly to kind of show you guys how I've been able to build this website. For instance, this is the site that we just launched for my company. I am using it for freelance work as well, but I think this is a great example because it goes a little beyond the normal of or basics that we use out there. But so you can see right now, right off the bat, like, pretty simple left, right info. And as you scroll down, you can see this grid here, large text, subheading, and then additional like information about something with a link somewhere. There's this easier stuff here. I think you guys all know this grid system, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Obviously, that's not common, but with this, you can get away with a lot of that stuff. Here's another simple headline with 2 buttons on the left and right. Another section here, and you can also, that's another thing that's great about this, you can tell it how far your columns can go. So you don't have to stick to anything that traditionally you would stick to with Bootstrap, where you have to stick with their 12 grid system. You can go a little bit beyond. So you say 75% on the left side and then the extra 25 on the right side. And you can define those things within Gutenberg. And I'll go into that as well. These particular items are also custom blocks, but either way, they're using the grid system that WordPress comes with. So it's great. Same thing here. There's nothing out of the norm here that you guys wouldn't be able to build on your own in the editor, in the block editor for Gutenberg. So there's a cool features here. But let me just go into it. So if I was to edit the page, you can see here, I left one right on them, but you can see the columns right here. The columns themselves on the left side. You can tell how many columns you have. You have 2, so here I have 1 and 2. 1 is not being used. The first one is on the left with some of the information there. The good thing is, like, I define a lot of this stuff on CSS, but you can do it in here as well. You can highlight something and completely change the color of it yourself. So for instance, I wanted to make this a little green, right? Let's preview that really quickly. Let's see if it works quickly. So you can do that here. This is defined in CSS, so you want to be able to do it, but that's only because I took some additional changes for it. But you can do anything you want. Here's another completely built-in Gutenberg blocks. You can see the date, the additional block here, and this all translates to the same thing that's on the right side here, the register button. You can see that. That's right. Let me see. Right above below here. Here's the register. If you register, here's the date. Here's the blank space for the column that you may have used. And I like to group a lot of things. So anything that's, for me, it's a row, I group them, and then there I break down the columns. So you can see there's a group here, there's a group there. It just seems to me like a good practice, just because it allows it, the way it wraps, it's easier for me to manipulate on the CSS end. So it's easy. See, here's another one that's pretty simple. It's a group I defined in here. In this instance, I used a reusable block. So it's another great thing. So let me just scroll down to the bottom just to show you what I mean by that. So the footer itself, here, it's really dirty right now, but that's because this is the stage where I was playing around with a lot of stuff. So the Gutenberg allows you to create these reusable blocks. So for our footer, I think we need a little more. I needed to allow the user or the marketer to kind of make their own changes and update anytime they wanted to some information. So for that instance, then I created this footer that allows them to constantly pull it into any page they build. Unfortunately, the only pain about that is that they have to put it in themselves. So, but the good thing is that because you can create a reusable block, this block, no matter how many times you change it and where you change it, as long as you edit within the block, you know, you'll be able to save it. So for instance, it's telling me to put a comma here. So let's do that just to, it's not doing it right. So let's just remove this. Okay. And then you'll save here. You won't save up here. You'll save right here. Press save. And this footer will be updated throughout every page that has it. And you can do that not just for footers. You can do that with anything. So for instance, like I showed you this item. Where is it? Right here. This is a reusable block. You can see that little icon says that. Once you click on it, click edit, then you can go ahead and make the changes here, and it'll, if you were using it on another page, then that update here would also take place there. So that allows a lot of the blocks to be reused anywhere you wanted to, or keep reusing them. If they have a consistent pattern to them, you want to make sure you use them in other places. So again, same thing here. Here's the group, right? This is my group. I believe I put it in the same block. Let me just go. Right, so this is the same block. So the main block is right here, the main group, I mean. And that group obviously has a background. I defined those backgrounds in CSS. Again, they're kind of very unique in the whole page, so I don't necessarily need them to do it anyway. Assigned it, I believe, via a CSS class. And the other good thing is that, for instance, my marketer, Ellen, she's very savvy. So sometimes she wants to use a background in other places that we've kind of defined here. So she's able to pull one of these styles, these classes that she knows, okay, I want it to be in this one particular section. And she'll take the CSS and she'll pull it there, and now she gets the whole background. And there's a few examples I can show you of that too, but it's just a quicker way for her to style things without having to know how to insert a background and so on. For the most part, it's just about building structures right now without building HTML for us anyway. You can see I can build this whole thing using their grid system completely, and then translate that very well to the front end. So here it is, meat, right? It looks exactly the same using their columns that WordPress already comes with, and the is defined already in WordPress. And the thing is that WordPress defines this not in the theme; it defines it in their core file system. So you don't even have control of that stuff. It automatically comes with it, which is great. So you don't have to technically add anything else. So as a designer, I would say this is great. You know, all I have to do is CSS and style it. This is great. This is exactly what I'm looking for. I don't have to build a template. I don't have to build a structure. I don't have to build a new PHP file with, you know, home page template kind of a thing or index. This is much more simple to build, and it's much more literal. So a person other than me can come here and be like, oh yeah, okay, I just want to change this to this and that. So here's what we spoke about, the column structure before. 2 columns, right? And now you want to define like some of those sizes of those columns, right? So where do we do that? Right here. So see, this is 75%, which is what we spoke about, and the other was 25. So let's say we wanted to reduce that. Maybe we want it to be less, right? Maybe you want to be, let's be fair to 100%, 25%, right? And then the second column, and by the way, sometimes it's a little hard to pick these. I just press up on the keypad and it'll select them somehow. You can see it was already changed to 75. So let's make a quick preview of that, and I just want to show you what I mean, how easily it can be changed. So here it is. So this right hand side, we told it to take up 75% of the page, and then the left side take 25, which is the opposite of what it was. And just like that, the change happens. Obviously, there's a bad structure change, but it still kind of shows you exactly what I'm talking about. And if I wanted to go back, I just define that as 25% again, preview that, and go back in there and manipulate. As you manipulate it, it will also show you on the front end how that change occurs. So we go back to normal, which is great, right? And all you have to do, for instance, for you as a designer or CSS person, right? You want to define some of this stuff. So H1s, you'll define that on that end. H2s, you'll define that on the CSS end. H3s, and you'll define all these things for the marketer, editor, anybody that's allowed to go in and make changes to define to choose those things without having to think about how they look. Just know that this is the style guide for this website, and this is what's going to follow. So if I choose H2, which probably won't be appropriate in this layout, but just to show you that, you see H2 now changed because this is how I define H2. So H1, H2, and then it goes down to different types. I believe this is an H3. But you would define that stuff on your end, and that's all you have to worry about is defining the norm for a user. They can control the color, like I said before. So like if they wanted to make this a color, they could go select the color. You know, I'll choose a custom color, something outrageous, red, preview that. So allow some preview time, scroll down to the section, and boom, you have it in red. So you're able to define a lot of things for them. And some of these things, for instance, here are default colors that will come from styling. I haven't really defined those. You can do that in functions PHP, but that's beyond that. That's more of a developer, and I'm not going to jump into that. That could be so much easier to do in the future, but this is the first phase, like I would say, for me. So just know that you can do a lot of things. You can break a lot of stuff. You can change the structure. And so the good thing about this, right, for a marketer is that they can go here and break it as much as they want and still be able to go back and check out the revisions, right, that you made or they made, and go back and say, okay, I didn't like what I did. I didn't like the red I did, right? Here's a few of them. Well, in this case, I've done so many. But here, if we were to go back, you know, revision 2 weeks ago, we don't want to go that far. We're going to go 51 seconds back. Yeah, let's see that. So 51 seconds back, right? We could compare just for fun. So the other good thing is that what WordPress has done is that they build all the code within that in the actual page. So you can copy this entire block into a new page and it'll look exactly how you already built it. Meaning you don't have to build a template in a PHP file. You could build a template on WordPress and then copy that same style by just copying and pasting it to another page. So let me show you what that looks like. Okay. How do I restore this guy? Am I not that far enough? All right, that's fine. Restore this guy. So what do I mean by that? Okay, so you can go here, click code editor, and it gives you the entire code. You can copy, select all, copy this, create a new page, and you can call it, you know, anything you want. My test page of home, and you can paste it there. Okay, and that's it. And you have now the entire home page on here. And how do you know? You just go back to the visual editor. If you're a visual person, then that's what you want to do. I tend to find the code editor not being so simple anymore, so I don't even touch it. But here is the page that we just rebuild without rebuilding. And this is great. You can have the entire page, okay, right here. So I would say this is a fun thing. So the one thing I would say that you can do is you're able to also give them access to change the logo and all that through customize. Those are other features that WordPress launched a while back that are still great. Defining the menu items, I do that as well for them. They can go and change the menu to this, and WordPress already comes with some of that feature, so you can do that as well. Defining what goes in this menu also can be set by them, or they can be removed. Really is up to them what they want to do. So I give them a lot of ways to change this. But the main thing for me was that we can build this entire website just in Gutenberg's blocks. You don't have to do anything else. Okay, and developers, like I mentioned before, they don't need to insert or use Bootstrap. So Bootstrap tends to have gotten really heavy for us, and it starts to slow down our pages a lot. But because I'm not using that, and it's using WordPress, then we already have it defined. We don't need to redefine it in any way. So this helps a lot on the developer's end, for instance. Now, just to extend a little more on the developer's end, you can build your own blocks as well. And that's not difficult at all for a developer, I would say. Myself, I am not a full-blown developer. I think I am more of a designer, UX person. Primary focus, I would say, but I do know some developing. But I was able to build blocks. So if you can see, you can look in here. The custom blocks I built are, I believe they're here, if I didn't launch them without displaying them. Speakers. So speakers themselves are a block I built, and the only difference here is because you could have built this without customizing any blocks. You could have done this yourself with just structuring using their main Gutenberg structure blocks. But the only thing I did or added value to this was that I'm asking them exactly certain questions, like for instance, who is the speaker? What does the speaker do? And sometimes they have a long bio, so we wanted to not send them to another page to look at it, but instead we wanted them to automatically look at that. So we included a modal in here. And this is another thing that's great. WordPress has their own modal. So if you look at the menu itself is a modal that's built into WordPress, and you can do a lot. It's all CSS based. You don't need to do much more than, okay, I know how to define this. I know how to pop it out. I can define those things myself, no problem. And that's what I did here. So this modal is used here as well in a different manner, but it's the same modal. But this is a custom block. All this and the way it looks, and if I can show you that any one of these pages is fine. It's just already defined, so it's already asked for certain things. So on the right side, you can see, what type is it. They put menu, the speaker's name. This could be, again, you can define any way you want. There's other things that are added just to play around with. But you can see this is the governor. What type is it? It's a speaker. And the reason I ask those things is because they look different depending on what they choose. Again, this block has a lot of things just because it's like a preparation for the next phase. But ultimately, you can do that. So here you can tell it what to do. You want to slide it from the left or just a basic, which is what I have. Here's the photo and here's the bio. So the bio they can keep adding as much as they want. And they'll be able to add that and then again display that there. But that's the only reason I have that as a custom block, for instance, and it looks good. There's some stuff here I want to fix a little more, but ultimately it rolled out really well, and they can reuse that, and they can use it in many places. So if I can show you, what else can I show you? So the buttons or the links themselves, even the links themselves of the buttons, they're all using Bootstrap's, sorry, not Bootstrap, the block editor's functions, which is to create the button, right? So let me see which one uses a button, because the links, I usually use links in this site. See, there's a link. But let's say you wanted to use a button, you can do that as well. You can say add button. I'll use a regular one. There's a custom one that I built, but no need for that. You can do that here. So this is my new button, and I want to go to, I don't know, let's see what pages are available to us. I don't know what page, the menu page, home page, agenda. Okay, let's see what to expect. Let's put it, let's send it there, and that's it. You have a button, and you can center that. You can do whatever you want with it. It's pretty simple. We could just pop a preview to look at it. So it didn't need to be a link. It could have been a button as well. Okay, where is it? Where did I pop it in? Oh, here it is. This is menu button. So by CSS, I defined certain defaults as certain colors. So they may look black in the background, but in the front end, I defined it differently because of CSS. But you could have defined it in here as well. I just didn't for time's sake. But you could go in here and say, okay, I don't think this is a primary button. So I want to redefine that as a weird purplish, or let's go purple. Purplish button, because it's not in my style sheet, in my style sheet. So let's preview that. Okay, and here it is. And you can define the text as well. So we have it as a black. It does change because there is some definitions you can define in functions PHP for this, but I have not. Again, apologize. There's some things that we have to change, that we have to do first on my end. So I couldn't go nuts right away. But all those things I'm learning that you can redefine and tell it what to be. But here it is. So here's the button. Here's the text color I changed to like a light blue. See it right here. And it's well defined. Like, you can control a lot of stuff. I may be able to say these are the defaults for this button, this button, this button. But ultimately, you can come back and say, I want it to look different. I want it to look like something out of the norm for this page. I don't recommend that for a lot of things, but if you did want to break that style, this is how you do it. Now, there's a few things that you can keep adding to the stuff, and this page is obviously not what you should define things as, because scratch that, I don't even know what I said, but but that's pretty much it. I don't think I missed anything. I think I already went to the marketer stuff, but here, let me just kind of go back into how marketer benefits from this. A marketer comes here, looks at this page, it looks like how it is defined there. So I just want to go back to the home page. It is defined the same way, okay? It may not look like it, but the content is there. So I know if my info is there, then it must look like it goes there. If my button is here, then I know it's there. Like, there's stuff that they can come and benefit from. Text primarily is like, for instance, my marketer, Ellen, she's great. She'll come in here and make her own text edits, and she'll know, okay, this is how I do it, this is how I do it. She even learned how to mock what I've done already. So as more and more times she comes and visits this and gets used to this blocking and how I've manipulated, she's able to do it on her own, and she has. She's built complete pages on her own that look just as great, and I could definitely show you some of those things. So let's just visit the original, the launch site. Okay, it doesn't look much different, right? She was able to do a lot of this stuff on her own, especially the what to expect. This was all her. She came in, look at this. She added the button. She's great. She didn't need me for any of the stuff. She did this with the masking from Guttenberg. She went in, defined the text. She did this, the buttons. She's able to manipulate all stuff. And, this might be a little too heavy for some, but I think we're being loud on purpose here on this particular page. But this is what she's able to do. She's able to control the experience for her user, and she knows her users better than anyone because she's able to talk to them and she knows who they are. There's another page that I liked a lot. Well, this one too was built completely using Gutenberg. It's a pretty simple page. This background is called, I think they call it a hero or something like that. But this whole background thing is also built in. You can get this darken and change the color of it as well, and then add your text on top of that. Again, you can define a lot of stuff, and this looks, you can get a very creative. This I don't like, so we'll probably have to go in there and change that. I'm not gonna do it right now, but that's something I can do tomorrow morning because there are a few things that rolled out that again, due to a lot of things, specifically the pandemic, things have to be rushed out and have to get out and have to be tested. But the great thing is we can always go back and make simple changes really quickly. I hope that helps a lot. I think that's a lot I've said, but primarily the point of all this is to let you know that as a designer, this is a helpful tool. As a developer, you can build up upon this or just redefine the stuff that's already there. And as a marketer, you're able to go in this and manipulate anything and everything that somebody has already built for you. And you can follow the same style guide without feeling like you're breaking anything. My marketer Ellen, she's great, so she goes in there and she's able to do that stuff. She shows me a lot of stuff, and sometimes I'm just tweaking like font sizes, and I do that in Gutenberg. So I don't need to go back to the staging ground to make any changes to style sheets. I can do that in Gutenberg. I can define a style sheet. I can redefine a font size by saying, hey, can you just change it to 12 or 13 or 14 pixels? And that's all I ever help her with. Other than that, she puts it together. She has a good understanding of what visually pleasing to her users. So she's able to make those changes on her own. But I think that's it. I hope that helps everybody out there. If you have questions, hit me up. I'm always looking for something to kind of do for people because I do feel like there's a lot of things that I'm doing that are new. That I think some people don't get the benefits of doing it. I get to do it because my company is very open-minded and willing to give me the chance to test things out. And for instance, this was a big test for us. We're running with it. Ellen is our first user doing this, our first marketer using this, and she's loving it. But hopefully, we're able to bring this to the masses in our groups so that they can also benefit from this. And again, I just realized this. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but she went in here and made these changes too. You guys can see on my homepage, this is too tight, right? Too small. But she went in here and she redefined some of the stuff, even adding some spaces to it. She did this. I didn't do this. And it adds value. She recognized that I missed a primary piece in this, and she is able to make that define this differently. She did this. Again, somebody that's not a designer and developer, she's able to go in here and know, okay, I can change this because it makes it look a little more pleasing. By the way, she did let me know she was going to do this, but I'm glad she did do this, and I'm happy that she did it in the way she did it, and kudos to her. She's definitely growing as a marketer, but also knowing what users need and what they want, which is awesome. Thank you, Ellen. And again, this is for my friends. Hopefully you guys can learn from this. I think I said a lot, and I think I need to stop now. So good luck. Let me know what you guys think, and thanks for watching. Bye, everybody.